Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the updated Thanksgiving Day slate. Unfortunately, the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game just got postponed, so we're down to 2 games on Thanksgiving, which is just going to be unfortunate because there's going to be a lot more of the same lineups. You're going to have to be, competing with a lot of the same, a lot more higher ownership on core guys. So it's going to be, you're going to have to get tricky and try to leave some money on the table. You're going to see a lot more ties, which is just not as fun, but it is what it is. We got to push forward. So, give you guys an updated video for this Thanksgiving Day slate. We have 2 games. We got some more injury news from this Detroit side. Looks like Swift is not even on the injury report anymore, so he should be good to go. Still waiting on Galladay, although I don't think he's going to play just because he didn't practice at all. And that's kind of it for the injury news. We got the Houston news as well, with both Stills is out now, and so is Cobb. So let's get into the video. As always, appreciate if you guys hit the like button on the video, subscribe if you have not already. If you want to join us, you can visit the website, links in the description, and let's get into it. So at quarterback, now that I'm just going to highlight these 2 games so you don't have to look at all the postponements. But at quarterback, you're down to 4 options: Watson, Stafford, Dalton, and Smith. Like, the difference between Watson and Stafford is just massive in terms of upside. The price tag is pretty different as well, but there's not any top-end guys to really pay out for. Everybody's pretty affordable. You have one wide receiver that's $7,000, no running back over $7,000. So everybody's going to play Watson, but I just think that he has just the best shot of being the highest scorer. So I'm definitely going to make sure I get him in my lineup. At running back, you have 3 guys that I really like: Elliott, Swift, and Gibson. Now that DeAndre Swift is in, he is my number 1 running back of the 2-game slate. Just because Houston is dead last against the ground. He had his best game of the season before he got hurt, and that game was the first game that he started. So he's going to turn into a bell cow, and it's just too good of a spot against Houston. This game is in Detroit at home. Inside a dome, it should be a pretty close game, so they're going to have to utilize Swift, I think, on the ground. And hopefully they don't get down by big. So I like Swift, definitely at running back. And I think Gibson looks really good as well on the Washington side against Dallas. You're getting the number 31st and 32nd rush defenses for Gibson and Swift, respectively. Gibson has been playing his best football the last 4 weeks. He has 5 rushing touchdowns. His touches have been nice. Like, early in the season, he was not getting a ton of touches. Some of these games, like 9 carries, 9 carries, 9 carries. But recently, it's been 16, 13, 6, 20. So we've seen him push north of 15 carries 2 out of 4 games. He gets targets as well. He's utilized in the red zone, inside the 10-yard goal line situation. So seems really nice in a very good spot against Dallas. Wide receiver, you have Terry McLaurin at 7K. Looks fine too, if you can get to him. If there's a chance that, depending on if you want to get all 3 running backs in there, it's going to be tough to pay out for McLaurin. But I'm definitely going to pair Watson with Fuller. And now that Watson is down his slot receiver and Stills as well, you're going to see Kiki Kuti at 3,400 be the best value play. You might not need him, but he's going to be the best value receiver on the slate. And then we have Brandon Cooks if you want to double stack Watson with Cooks. Both Fuller and Cooks just see more targets this week. And then if Galladay doesn't play, I'd like Marvin Jones, just because Galladay's probably not going to play. If he happens to return, then I will try to upgrade to Galladay. But right now, I think Jones is going to be the number 1. They're still dealing with some injuries with Amendola and Marvin Hall, so there's a chance one of those misses, and Marvin Jones continues to be the number 1 guy. It was just a really bad game against Carolina. It wasn't just the entire game. They couldn't get anything going offensively. Stafford's thumb looked to be an issue. Maybe it got better over a couple days. We'll see. There hasn't been any reports recently saying that it's gotten worse or anything, so hopefully it's just gotten better. And Marvin Jones, 5,500, should command you 8 to 10 targets if this game is competitive and high scoring. And the matchup is pretty nice at home against Houston. And then for the other wide receiver, you have McLaurin, who everybody's going to like, and I definitely like him too. The Dallas guys, I think you could look at Cooper. It'll be Cooper, Lamb, and then Gallup. I think Cooper is just going to get more targets than Lamb, but he might get more ownership. So if you want to play that game, you can go to Lamb. But I think Cooper is another guy that you can consider. And then Cooks is the 3rd guy that I like a lot. And then Kiki Kuti, if you need a cheap wide receiver, I'll definitely go to him. Tight end wise, you have Hawkinson at 47. if they're still down Galladay, Amendola, then he's going to continue to get a good amount of targets. He got 7 targets last week. He's always been questionable because of his toe injury, but he's always managed to push through, so there's not really any risk of him missing this game. With now Mark Andrews no longer on the slate, you have Hawkinson as the best option, followed by probably Schultz. You could go Akins if you want at 2,900. But, if you do want to double stack Watson with his top 2 receivers, it's going to be somewhat interesting to get 3 guys in there with Akins, Fuller, and if you play, Kuti or if you play Cooks. I like Logan Thomas to bounce back just because Smith only threw under 200 yards, still got 5 targets. He's kind of in that range, 5 to 6 target range. I think Schultz and Thomas are both similar. If you want to get a Dallas piece, I think Schultz looks fine against Washington, who's been really bad against tight ends. And then in the flex, you have McLaurin and Elliott. You can pick and choose between one of the two. You're probably going to be able to get to one of them. I think go a little bit with Elliott and kind of go with the 2 running backs in that game. We could see both the Washington defense is good, but they're poor on the ground, so we can see Elliott have a good game on the ground, be utilized heavily. So I think going Elliott, Swift, and Gibson, you get 3 quality running backs, the best running backs on the slate. Still get your good receivers in there. Might have to pass on McLaurin. I mean, you'll definitely have to be built something like this, but could throw Logan Thomas in as tight end to maybe get a touchdown and hope that McLaurin doesn't have a tremendous game. And then at defense, now we're down to the cheaper defenses. I probably go with one of the cheaper defenses below 3K. I like the Washington football team, but it's just going to be tough. I mean, I probably can do this if I go Kuti and go with like Thomas or Schultz. But if I want to get up the Cooks, then I probably go with one of these 3 defenses. I think the Cowboys, or probably the Texans and Cowboys are the 2 that I really consider, and then the Lions if I just need to go really cheap. But I don't think you can't really go wrong with going with any of these 3 defenses. They're all probably going to finish below 5 fantasy points, just been how they played all year. But that's kind of it for this one. I think these six players all look like pretty strong plays tomorrow. Elliott, you can upgrade to McLaurin if you want. It's going to depend. And then Jones, you can upgrade to Galladay if he's in. But don't expect Galladay to play. And then McLaurin seems fine, limited, but shouldn't be an issue. So that's it for the DraftKings side. Let's go over to Fanduel. All right, Fanduel-wise, at quarterback, it's still Watson as the guy that you're going to. Probably one to get in there. He's going to be super popular, but I just think your best shot is probably to get different elsewhere because I just don't see how Watson doesn't have a very good game compared to the other quarterbacks. The other 3 are Stafford, who has a bum thumb, and Dalton and Smith, just 2 guys that don't have a ton of upside. Running back-wise, it's a bit interesting on FanDuel because Elliott is a lot expensive, and now that we know Swift is in, so Swift is still my favorite, and Gibson, those are the top 2 that I like. And on DraftKings, Elliott is much more closely priced, so I think he makes a stronger case there. But definitely still like Elliott if we can fit him in. You might have to pick between McLaurin and Elliott. That could be the decision on the slate. Seems like everybody's going to have Fuller with Watson missing his slot receiver in Cobb, and then the 4th receiver in Stills. People are going to go to Fuller. People are going to play Cooks. You're going to see Kuti be a decent value. And then depending on the Lions' injuries, at wide receiver, people are probably going to go with Marvin Jones, who's only 6,000 in a very good matchup against Houston to run it back with. Game stack that game a bit. Then you could look at, I think on FanDuel, CeeDee Lamb looks better than Cooper based on the price tag, but you probably can fit in either one if you want to because you're not paying up for really anybody. But go with these 5 on FanDuel, and I think that you can probably double stack Deshaun Watson with Cooks at 65. I see them having to throw the ball just because Duke Johnson hasn't really done anything on the ground. Watson has that arm. It's a really good spot against Detroit. Could definitely see out of Houston, the Lions, the Washington football team, and the Cowboys. With Watson as a quarterback, I see if I was double stacking any of those 4 teams, it would be Watson with Fuller and Cooks. I don't see really, maybe the second would be Dalton with Lamb and Cooper, but I don't see stacking Stafford because I will rely on DeAndre Swift and hope that he has a good game on the ground. And I definitely don't really want to stack up Alex Smith with McLaurin. And then you have no other wide receivers. You're going to have to stack him with Gibson, which is fine. But in terms of wide receiver double stacks, it's Watson and Cooks. And I mean, that's Fuller and Cooks, and everybody else is kind of second fiddle. So that's kind of it for this one. I mean, it's a lot less to talk about now that we're missing a third of the games, but it is what it is. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully, you guys all have a great Thanksgiving. Stay safe, and we'll be back with another Sunday video, probably Friday. So see you all then.